welcome back to Destination Morocco podcast. In this episode, we're going to be exploring unique Moroccan cultural experiences one by one. And in this episode, we bring back Ted. Ted, welcome back.
Hi.
So good to have you.
Thanks.
So this is going to be a fun episode because a lot of people they have a lot of questions about this experience versus that experience, and they want to know as much as they can about them. So, Ted,
hmm
what do you have for us today?
Yeah, and a lot of this I'm curious about too. I mean, I've listened to every minute of this podcast since we started, 2.5 years or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And I still have questions, at least about some of these details for sure. So a lot of this is just things that we've collected over the last few months, I suppose, and beyond. And we wanted to put it all in one place to really explain to the listeners what it's all about. And along that theme of, unique Moroccan cultural experiences, the things that are really quite unique to Morocco that you probably won't find in other places, or at least in the same form. So the first thing I have is with the Spa and Hammam Experience. That's a perfect example of something you guys talked about lots in various
Yes.
episodes. But if you're new to the concept, or you've heard about it, you're not sure exactly how it works, this is our chance. We'll kind of go into, well, what does that involve? So what exactly is the Spa and the Hammam Experience?
The spa and hammam experience, the spa is really self explanatory. It's similar to the West spa with a little bit of Moroccan flair, if you would. But
hmm
then the hammam experience is the difference, is the unique. Because in the past, when I grew up, we did not have these hammam experiences the way that we have them now. We just had a public hammam. And we go, and it's normally three chambers, if you would. The first one is just warm, then the second one is a little bit hot, but the third one is very, very hot. It's like a sauna hot. And then we just rub our skin basically and exfoliate and all that stuff until we're clean, and we're done. But the hammam experience nowadays is kind of a private experience. They take you to your own room, your own setup. Everything is it's really, really nice. It's a little bit hot, but comfortable hot, if you would. And then they rub your skin, all your body, and they put some organic products to exfoliate your skin, to rejuvenate your skin, and it's really, really nice. And it's more of a treatment as well. So, and then the spa, these two you can do one after the other. I would recommend starting with the hammam experience. If you would do both of them, the hammam experience can go between 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Then the spa experience can go depending on the package that you choose. It can
hmm
be 45 minutes, it can be 1 hour, it can be an hour and a half. So just keep in mind, if you are going to combine both of them, I would say do the minimum on both 30 minutes, 30
Okay.
minutes, or 45 minutes, 45 minutes, because you you will get really tired. You'll get very sleepy and relaxed. So
Yeah.
that's
Huh.
what makes it really, really unique.
hmm
Then there's the service in between, the tea, the mint tea, and everything that comes with it. They really, really pamper you, and you can have this experience in all the major cities nowadays. So I highly recommend it, or at least one of them.
Right. Now, I know we've seen often that you have like a spa slash hammam as part of a hotel in a resort, maybe a riad. Can it also be found if you're not staying let's say, at a riad that has a hammam, of course, built in? Can you just find it in a city somewhere and go and sign up for one?
Absolutely, yes. The luxury riads and high end and hotels, they obviously have their own in-house, and they you book it, they'll take care of it for you. But you also can go outside and find it as well, and you just pay on the spot. In some, you need a reservation, but in most of them, you just walk in. They'll accept you as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So does spa always go with hammam or vice versa? Or can you find one and the other separately?
They go together, but you don't have to have both experiences. You can just say, hey,
Okay.
I'm here for the spa, or I'm here for the hammam. Now, keep in mind, the hammam is part of our culture.
Mm.
It still is. We still go to public hammams, but these are a little bit high end. They're a little bit luxury. They're a little bit, it's an experience in the next level,
Mm.
if you would. The local traditional hammam, they are still in every neighborhood. You'll see a public hammam or two that the families go to, but in separately, obviously.
hmm
But in this case, it's a little bit more luxury than the traditional hammam.
hmm Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, what's the history and the roots of this way back before the days of tourism and all the rest? Like, it's very much a cultural experience for Moroccans, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You get rid of a lot of the dead skin for sure.
Yeah. I remember walking past in Essaouira and our guide pointed out this was a hammam, and it was just a local hammam. It wasn't really a touristy thing. I mean, maybe you could
Yes,
buy a ticket and stuff to go in, but it was really made for locals. And
yes,
I mean, you couldn't see much. It was kind of an entranceway. I remember it was fairly dark inside, so it was kind of like a whole other world. I had this
yeah,
impression that once you go in and you kind of settle in, you're in this
yes.
whole other world and environment.
That's right. But also they are separated, the men's
Hmm.
hammam from women's hammam. So nowadays you'll see one hammam for women, one for men. But back in the day, it used to be just one hammam, and it'll be shared, for example, from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m., it'll be the women. Then from, for example, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., it'll be the man. So,
Hmm.
but nowadays they have them separated. So,
Okay. Is this something that's done clothing optional, or what's the standard practice?
well, it's like you're wearing your bathing suit for men or for
Okay.
women. And that's in the public, that's how you go in. And even for the private ones, that's how you go in. They provide you with the bathing suit at the location, and that's how it's done. Yeah.
Hmm. And what about age limits? Like, can children use these to a certain age?
Well, I would say probably the youngest, I would say maybe 14, maybe 16.
Okay.
Because any younger, they would know the difference. They'll just see a lot of dead skin on their, hands and stuff. But yeah,
My
so,
kids could use that,
uh,
but clean off all those grass stains. Yeah, well, that's good to know because I mean, it's a family kind of thing to a point. You have to have older
yes,
kids for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then what about pricing in general? Like, there's certainly different levels, but if you want to go just kind of a basic hammam spa experience, what would that cost?
I would say obviously the service, obviously the location, the amenities that come with it, but you can find something between $20 to starting at $20 to starting at $100 or 150 and up. So
Hmm.
and again, it just when it comes to the spa, it just depends on the packages. There's the royal package or the diamond package, and it includes everything that you can think of. Then it's a little bit pricey. But if you just want something basic, then it's not really that expensive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's good to know. Another thing on our list, which is certainly similar, but still I think separate, is what's known as the hammam sand bath. I've heard a
Yes.
bit about this, but I really don't know much about it at all. So can you tell us
Oh,
about the difference and
definitely.
what it is?
Absolutely. That's a really, really good one. The hammam sand bath, it's performed in the desert, in a lot of southern parts of Morocco or cities. And basically, I'm sure you have seen it in some movies. Basically, they bury you in the sand, obviously, except your head, and you drink a little bit of water to stay hydrated, and they use it for medicinal purposes. It helps
Mm,
with people who have arthritis, and you can
okay.
do as many sessions as you can. Obviously, not one after the other. So it's you can do one, come back in a couple of days, and do another, and so forth. And
Mm,
that's what this experience is about. Helping with arthritis, and it's really, really popular. I would say more with the locals. Then now it's getting a little bit more popular with the tourists.
mm. Are they very common then? Easy to
Yes,
find? Yeah.
yes, they're really, really common. Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So does that kind of go with the regular spa hammam thing, or is it really a separate
It
experience?
is a totally separate experience.
Okay.
This one is, it's you can do it in Merzouga, you can do it in the neighboring cities in the southern part of Morocco where there's sand everywhere. So
Right.
the other one you can do it in all major cities. So this one is
Yeah. Okay.
connected to the desert. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So you don't necessarily go from like the sand to the water, like wet based one, and on from there.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
see. Okay. And again, is that similar kind of pricing and service for something like that?
I would say it's probably similar because it's gonna have transportation involved. From wherever you're staying, the hotel or the Riyadh, taking you, then waiting, then coming back. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this could segue into the desert because I know we get a lot of questions. Probably one of the most popular ones, really, is just what's involved with visiting the desert in Morocco. It's definitely becoming more and more popular, and people want to go out and experience it. When we were there last year, we really made a point of saying, is it possible? Is it even possible for us to go and get some sense of the desert? And because we were in Marrakesh, the Agafay Desert is quite close.
Yes.
So that's certainly something to keep in mind. But generally, it's like, well, what does it mean to visit the desert when you're in Morocco? Is it kind of a rough and wild thing? Is it like roughing it, or what kind of experiences do you get? What kind of comforts and regular things? So we can chat a bit about that. When you want to visit the desert, what's involved? What kind of things can you do there?
Well, you have to be prepared. Basically, it's a little bit rough, but not really rough. But people like it. People enjoy it because they want to immerse themselves in that experience.
Hmm.
So, for example, when you get to the desert, when you get to Merzouga, they'll set you up. You'll get your gear for the camel, which is just a scarf. If you
Hmm.
like, if you can do without the scarf, sometimes it helps, especially when there's wind and stuff like that. But the times that we have been to Merzouga, there has never been any wind, anything uncomfortable. So, but you don't have to do the scarf. And then after that, the camel handler will help you get into ride the camel. The camel, in all the cases, they are sitting down. Then you get on top, and there's like a T, if you would, rod. You put your hands on it, and then he helps you get up with the camel. So you get up and good. That's probably the most uncomfortable thing about the camel. It's just that, because it's a little bit that push, when the camel goes backwards then comes back up, that's the only thing that it's a little bit uncomfortable. And the same thing when you descend the camel. So those are the only two things that I would say, hey, it just needs your attention 100%. Otherwise, it's all good.
Are you
um,
attached? Is there a camel seat belt?
No, there's no camel seat belt. No, but the thing is, those camels, they're really really friendly. And then you have the camel
Okay.
handler, the camel owner. He's there with you, and it depends. It can be one person. If the group is small, it can be two people or three people, depending how big the group is. So, yes,
Right. So then, now I'm glad you brought up camels too, because you don't have to take a camel, right? You can just
exactly.
take a car ride if you're going to a camp or an experience. But camel's an option most of the time. Is that usually a standard thing that you have that option?
Yes, a lot of people, they like to do the camel ride. And also, just to give you an idea, the camel ride between where they prepare you until the camp, there's tons and tons of camps. There's
Mm,
regular camps, just bare minimum camps, premium camps, then luxury camps. It takes about 45 minutes. So
mm,
along the way, there's a little stop for the sunset, and it's about
mm-hmm.
15 minutes for you to take a lot of pictures, make a lot of memories. And
Yeah.
then they continue to the camp where you're going to be greeted with Moroccan minty or desert minty. It's a little different than the regular cities. And then they prepare dinner for you. Then you have your
Mm-hmm.
dinner. After dinner, they have a little bit of playing the drums and dancing and singing. And after that, you go to sleep. Then the next day, you wake up and they'll give you an option if you want to go back to the Riyadh, either via camel ride or a quad or a 4x4. A lot of people, they just go with the 4x4 because it's quick. It's 10-minute ride, and you're back with
Right.
your team, and you have your luggage and everything. So when you're in the camp, obviously dinner, breakfast are included. If you're spending more time, then it's the lunch. It's also included, but the lunch you have options as well. So this is basically when we talk about the camel ride from end to end, from beginning to end. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, can you go, as this might apply more to Agafy, but tell me if it's Merzouga too. Like, can you just go to the desert for an afternoon to ride a camel or to do the quad tour or something like that
Well,
without staying over?
for Mirzuga, I mean, you can stay at the Riyadh. You don't have to go to the camp, you see. And you can do the quad as well experience. You can do the camel experience. You can do the nomad experience. You can do many, many experiences, except you're not spending the night at
Hmm.
the camp, because a lot of people, they like to spend the night at the camp. If
Sure.
you're not interested, then you don't have to. You can do everything staying at the Riyadh in Mirzuga.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's the actual town of Merzouga. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There's Merzouga, which has Riyadhs everywhere, and then there's the camp. So when you go, you leave your luggage. You don't take your luggage with you. You leave your luggage at the Riyadh,
Hmm.
and then you go to the camp. Let's say you don't want to go to the camp, then you can stay in the Riyadh. And the Riyadh offers, they have swimming pools, they have tons and tons of amenities to keep you busy as well. So
Hmm. And the town of Merzouga is basically right on the doorstep of the desert where you can
yeah,
find the activities.
yes. Well, the desert is pretty big, but this is like the closest part to the camps, and it's really neat and very unique, and that's the reason why people go to Mirzuga and do all those things. You can still do these experiences and being in farther cities, small cities, but that doesn't make any sense. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the best way is to locate yourself in Mirzuga and take care of everything that you need to.
Mm-hmm. And then same thing in the Agafay Desert, which is right close to Marrakesh. So there's probably a lot of practical options there too.
Yes, for a lot of people, they substitute Agafay Desert versus Merzouga,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they are doing the north side tour of Morocco and they don't have time to drive to Merzouga. So they can just be in Marrakesh and do a day trip to Agafay, and they can have the same experiences, quad experience, camel experience. They can have dinner and a show afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's what we would recommend for people. Just gives them that feel of you're not inside the city, you're off, and it feels really nice, relaxing, and it's really, really cool. It's still
Mm-hmm.
hot, but you're saving a lot of time versus, going all the way to
Yeah,
Mizuga.
that's true. Because if you're staying in Marrakesh, it depends where you are, I suppose, but it's roughly 30, 40 minutes to get to the Agafay Desert.
It depends where you're staying.
Yeah.
But I would say an average an hour and 15 minutes just to be on the safe
Okay.
side. But Agafay Desert, it's pretty big,
Mm.
and it's getting more and more popular. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we were there, we would see, when we drove in, we saw people getting on camels and
Yes.
doing the quad tours and all those activities. So, yeah, and it seemed like they were just doing it as kind of a day activity. They might have been staying at a camp, but you could see their jeeps, and their
Yes. Yes.
vans that had brought them there.
Yes. Normally, it's pretty quiet in the morning, midday, but it gets a little bit busy, I would say, after 5 o'clock. Then you'll see a little bit activities. You can see tons,
Yeah.
dozens and dozens of quads just driving by, going by, exploring. So it's a lot of fun.
Hmm. Let's talk a bit about temperature because if you were there in the winter, let's say kind of January, maybe December through March, what would the temperature be like in the desert?
It gets a little cold, but not really cold. So January for sure, it's a little bit cold. February is a little bit cold. March, it's really good weather. It's one of the busiest seasons. Even in the summertime, it's fun. Even with the heat, it's fun because at night it's totally different and very unique
Mm,
experience. But if you get a chance to travel to Morocco when the weather is really beautiful, then you're really gonna enjoy it. Yeah.
right. And as you guys said, I think many times, the best times to travel to Morocco is what basically we call the spring and the fall, but say April through June, maybe?
Yes, yeah.
And then
March through
September.
June, yes, and then
Yeah.
mid-September, I would say all the way to second week of December. Then
Okay.
I would say February again. It's little cold, but it's still good through June. Yeah.
Okay. And how many days can people stay in the desert? What do you recommend that they stay?
Okay. What we have seen, a lot of people they spend a minimum of a day or a day and a half in the desert in Merzuga, but you can actually spend 3 days, 4 days, and
Hmm.
fill them up with activities. You can have, for example, a nomad experience. You can have Khamiliya, in the village Khamiliya. You can have a Gnawa experience as well. They have a Gnawa music festival in the
Mm,
summertime around August. So you can do so many things. You can do the quad experience. They come, they pick you up early morning, they take you off site, and you have fun for 3 hours. Then they bring you back. You can do day trips in Mirzuga. You can do a Berber experience as well, or a nomad experience as well. So there's so many things to do in Mirzuga. If you have the time, I would say minimum of 2 days
hmm.
to 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I second that too. I
yeah,
mean, we had one night, and we were fortunate we could squeeze that into our itinerary because in our case we went around the north, as you said, and
yes,
so
yeah,
we didn't have the time to get to Merzouga, but at least Agafay is an option.
yeah.
But I do remember thinking, if you had 2 nights, then it's a nice balance of yeah, there's nice activities, fun activities, and things you can do. But the desert's such a great place to just chill, to just
Yes,
relax, read your
absolutely.
book. Our camp had a pool, and it seemed like a lot of them did. But I mean, that's something to go swimming in a pool in the desert.
Yeah.
And it's a nice pool, of course, and there's a comfortable patio and chairs and the whole deal and drinks and all the rest. Like it definitely feels like this kind of mini resort
Yeah.
when you're there. So if you have even just an extra night, and then you're not, because you get there, of course, and you unpack and you settle in, and this is beautiful. You want to stay and really explore it. And then the next morning, you're packing up again, you're on your way. So even just having a couple nights really would make a difference.
I totally agree, Ted.
Yeah.
100%, yes.
Hmm.
Because you want to immerse yourself in that experience. And again, the southern part of Morocco experience is different than the Atlas Mountains, than Marrakesh, than Fas, and so forth. So you
Hmm.
definitely want to do it the right way if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, next thing on our list here, another very common theme, but we can kind of talk about some of the overall features, is finding a Berber cultural experience while you're in Morocco. So, if people are thinking about this, they want to experience the culture, they want to understand and witness it and maybe participate. And it's kind of like, where do you begin? Can you do it in the city? Do you have to go out to rural areas? What kind of experiences can you have? Do you go to someone's house? Is it like in some maybe central community center or something? Is it a festival? Like, how do you approach finding and having that experience?
That's a really good question, Ted, because when you book with us, we take care of that for you, basically.
Hmm.
And in Marrakesh, we do it in few different ways. Actually, we do lunch with the Berber family in Imlil, which is in the outskirts of Marrakesh. It's a short drive, and it's about a half a day, for the experience, meeting people, sitting with them, getting to know them, and then you do a
Hmm.
little bit of trekking, either walking or with the mule, and it's a lot of fun. Then the other one that we do, you can do a similar thing in Ait Ben Haddou. You can also do a carpet co-op visit. You can see how those women they wave those carpets, and lots of history behind it. Or you can do an art class, painting class as well in Ait Ben Haddou. And again, anywhere you go, minty is very popular, so get used to it. It's gonna be you're gonna probably have maybe a lot of cups
Yeah.
of tea. So and then the other one that we do, which we have done in the summer, we went to our village, to my village, and that's where we did the experience. And you can see we have done cooking class, and you can do the same thing with the family. They pick all the vegetables from outside the house,
Okay.
so everything is organic, it's homegrown, and then they prepare the meal, they help you prepare it with them, and then at the end it's a really really unique experience. And then when you go to those villages, and those houses, they are pretty old, 100-year-old, 150-year-old houses.
Mm.
So and they're just built with clay. There's nothing modern.
Mm.
It's very traditional, but very unique experience. I highly recommend it. And then we finished with the Ahwash experience. We have videos, we have pictures in our social media platforms, and it's a beautiful beautiful experience. So it's a
Hmm.
way of life. That experience, it's different, if you're from Ouarzazate versus Sousse versus other regions in Morocco, and there's many other Berber experiences besides that, but those are just few of what we do basically for the clients, and you can do the
Hmm.
same thing. The Berber experience is the number one request that we have for all the tours. Everybody wants to have that experience. They want to
Mm.
spend some time with the Amazigh people, with the Amazigh culture, and it's beautiful. So, which is really neat because you help those families, you help those villages, and your help really really goes a long way. So it's
Hmm.
incredible to support those communities and help them. Just it's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
One question comes to mind is essentially language barrier. So when let's say you're doing a cooking class or something, is the person leading it speaking English? Is it being translated, or maybe a different language too?
Well, I mean, you're doing the cooking class, it's a family, but you always have somebody with you. You have your local guide, or you have us to
Mm.
translate. So the language, it is a barrier, but it doesn't become a barrier. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How do you find the families or the hosts that, at least you guys that you work with, like, how do you choose the people that you bring your guests to?
That's a really good question, Ted, because we are part of a network, and we know people literally all over Morocco. but the difference is a lot of people don't know this. Some villages are welcoming to outsiders that has
Mm.
nothing to do with tourists, and others they are not welcoming to others. And this
Hmm.
includes me, for example. I can go to a village that I'm not known, and people it's they'll just look at me kind of with caution. But if I go into
Okay.
that village with somebody local, then I am welcomed. So you always
Mm.
have to have somebody from that village welcoming you. Then it just makes that transition seamless and smooth. So, and
Hmm.
we've had many experiences in the past. It's kind of funny. This is back in the 90s. We had a French guy. He's a tourist in the mountains. He was by himself, and he twisted his ankle. Uh,
Yeah.
and it hurt, and he stayed with us for 2 weeks in the village, and he
Oh
had so
wow.
much fun. He speaks French, and we were kids, so we used to make fun of him. He'll make fun of us, and we used to laugh and have a really really good time. But then the
Mm.
time came for him that he was healed and it's time to go. Everybody was crying because they
Mm.
got used to him. So it's that hospitality is always there. It just sometimes it needs a little bit of time to come out. So
Sure. Yeah, well, that's fair. Yeah. That's where it's nice having you guys is having a guide that's an intermediary
absolutely.
to kind of speed up the process because most of us don't have 2 or 3 weeks or something to
Yes,
just
yeah.
settle into a village. That makes me wonder then, like in terms of kind of timing, like especially if you were to go out to some rural village, can you do that in a day and be back to Marrakesh or wherever you're based, or
Yes.
do you stay overnight? Or what are the
No, you can,
logistics
you can
involved?
everything we discussed when it comes to Berber experience, you can all do it in a day. Now,
Okay.
if you're in Marrakesh, you really have to leave early,
Hmm.
and then I mean not early, early like 4 or 5 in the morning, but early, maybe 7 or 8, and it'll get you to the village, maybe 3 hour drive. Then you can prepare, get stuff ready for lunch, and then you can do lunch. And after lunch, you can set up the next village for Ahwash experience,
Hmm.
which normally Ahwash experience for us locals, when it's done in wedding or a celebrating event, it's like 4 hour thing. It goes all night, maybe from 10 p.m. to 2 or so in the morning. But in this case, because just tourists and an experience, it's about an hour and a half. So you still get immersed in that experience, and it's beautiful. So you can do everything we talked about in one day. A day
Okay.
trip, a day trip to the mountains, to Tluwat actually, and get everything done, and come back at night to your Riyadh or a hotel. Yeah,
And with the Ahwash experience, are you watching it? Can you participate as
you
well?
you
Tell us a
can.
bit about it.
Okay. It has I don't know the name in English, but it's like a drum beat, and there's a lot of
Okay.
poetry that it's being sung, and normally there's 3 or 4 leaders into the group, and they rotate who's taking the lead in the singing and the beats. Every leader
Hmm.
has his own beat that they perform, and if you pay close attention, it's different. It's like it's like their own signature, if you would. You can participate in dancing. You cannot participate in getting that instrument and playing with it, because you're going to mess up the beat. So when
Mm.
you see me, for example, last year in the middle of Ahwash, I had that instrument with me, but I don't hit it. I just hit the side of it, so that way it looks like I am on beat, and I'm not messing up the beat, just in case, because I don't want them to be mad at me.
Yeah.
But also all those men, I grew up with them when I was a kid, so most of them they know me very well, and they know my father. So after we
Mm.
finished that Ahwash, we were shaking hands and hugging, and just talking about good old days, if you would. So it was a lot of fun. Yeah, you can definitely participate. You can also participate just regular, your regular clothes. But if you want to immerse yourself in that experience, they can dress you up like from the village, for
Hmm.
men and for women, and it gives it just that extra flair, if you would. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, and that really is something quite. Now it's distinct to Morocco, but is it distinct to the south of Morocco, certain parts, or can you see it all over?
you can see it all over, but it's different in
Uh
different
huh.
parts of Morocco. Some, we have Ahwash in different region. They have, for example, Ahidus. In different places, they have something different. But you can see, because there's different tribes when it comes to the Berbers. So,
Mm.
and the Atlas Mountains, the Mid Atlas Mountains, the southern part of Morocco area as well. So, but the one that we have, it's specific towards Azet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
And you can tell from that dance who those people are from, which region they are from.
Yeah.
Yes,
I guess with a trained eye, but
yes,
eventually you,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes,
you
yes,
notice the difference.
yes,
Interesting. And would you have a guide kind of with you during the experience to explain what's going on, the
yes,
meaning
yes,
behind
yes, for
movements and
sure.
things?
Yes, for sure.
Ah.
Because on those events you have, obviously you're gonna have food served,
Mm-hmm.
either lunch or something else, and you'll have people speaking English.
Hmm.
Normally, it's either through us, your driver, or local guide as well.
Okay. Cool. Let's see. We've got a couple other things here. Now, a common question I think is when it comes to visiting mosques in Morocco. Now, people who travel to other countries, it depends on the country and kind of the culture there. Some mosques are more open, let's say, to anyone. Some you have to be Muslim. In Morocco, what's the case? Are there any mosques that you can visit when you're there?
Yes, there's one mosque that you can visit, obviously, which is the biggest one in Morocco, and it's Hassan II Mosque, located in
Hmm.
Casablanca. It's a beautiful, beautiful marvel. It's amazing, and we get this question all the time: how do I dress? How do I
Mm.
can I go? Yes, you can go in. You don't have to cover your head. You can be comfortable, and once you go in, you can do the tour by yourself, but also you can hire a local guide on the spot and
Yeah.
pay. There's a kiosk where you pay. It's like $15 or so, and then they'll go with you. The tour should take you between 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and I
Mm.
highly recommend it. Now, this is if you want to go inside the mosque and pay for that experience. Now, you can go. They have a museum which is located on the right hand side before entering the mosque, and you can go in as well. You pay a few bucks and you go and you look at the mosques and the history and all kind of stuff. It's really, really neat, and I would recommend it. If you're not going to go inside the mosque, at least do the museum experience, which is
Yeah.
really, really nice. Now, the other thing is you can be outside the mosque at any time, all the time. Nobody will ask you what you're doing here or this, or you cannot be here, for example. And it's really, really popular, especially during the sunset. A lot of people, they want to
Hmm.
go in, they want to take a lot of pictures, and it's free. You don't have to pay anything. It's just you're on the outside and you enjoying the view, enjoying the mosque and taking pictures from for the mosque outside. And it's a pretty unique experience.
Yeah. Right next to the ocean there. It's a stunning place.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I highly do recommend taking the tour, like with the guide. And there's lots of tours; it's easy to find, and they really explain why it was built the way it was,
Yes.
the architectural features,
Yes.
the history, and what was there. You know, there used to be. I forget about this. There used to be that big swimming pool, right, where
Yes.
the mosque is now, and you
I
see
know.
old
Yes.
pictures like
Yes.
from the 50s maybe or something
Yeah.
like that. And to think they tore all that down and replaced it with this incredible mosque and the perfect location right
Yeah.
next to the ocean.
It is. It's beyond incredible.
Now, a good thing to know are the times, but especially the days when the tour, let's say, is not available in particular.
That's right. That's right. Yes, you have to pay attention. If you're traveling on your own, just look at their website. They have sometimes 2, 3 visitation time a day, and the time changes between summer and winter, and also the time is different, always on Friday. So you
Hmm.
want to keep that in mind as well. If we're doing this for you, you don't have to worry about it. We book everything for you and we coordinate everything for you.
That's true, yeah. Now, that's the Hassan II Mosque, but there's not any others in Morocco that a non Muslim at least can go and visit,
No,
right?
this is the only one, but there's actually a couple, but you can still take pictures from outside, but unfortunately you cannot go
Okay.
inside.
Now, what if you are Muslim? Is it possible to go and worship and go into a mosque anywhere in Morocco? How does that work?
Yeah, if you're a Muslim, you're so yeah, yeah, that's what the mosques are for us to go inside
Yeah,
and worship. Yes. Yeah, including
but it's
this
not
one.
something. It's just like for locals only or anything like that.
No, no, as long as you're Muslim,
Hmm.
your nationality, it doesn't matter, but if you're a Muslim
Okay.
from, US, Canada, any part of the world, you can still go inside and perform the prayers. Any mosque in Morocco. Yeah.
Okay. Are there other Islamic sites that people can go in? I'm thinking the madrasas, perhaps, or
Yes,
places in Fez. Yeah.
yes, yes. You have the Madrasa Buanania. You have the one in Meknes as well, Buanania. Then you have
Oh yeah.
Madrasa Ibn Yusuf in Marrakesh, and they all look kind of similar. But when we build an itinerary for a lot of the guests, if we have them scheduled to see Madrasa Ibn Yusuf in Marrakesh, then we skip the one in
Mm,
Fas and Meknes because it's really similar. So that way they can
okay.
do other things. The history obviously is different, but we still, the local guys still talk about all those monuments. But it's just you
Mm.
have certain time in Meknes, you have certain time in Fas, and certain time in Marrakesh, and that's why if we show one, it's like you've seen the three of them.
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's lots to see.
Yes,
And that comes to our next question, which is exploring Moroccan Jewish culture. And
yes.
also, I think, particularly in Fez, we can talk a bit about this. Is Fez kind of the hub of Moroccan Jewish history, let's say, in culture?
Oh, 100%, Ted. Yes. When earlier when we spoke about the Berber culture, the Amazigh culture, that's definitely the number one request. But the
Mm.
second request that we get, which is the Jewish culture. Now, keep in mind, I'll give you an example. You have a tour, we set you up, we build an itinerary for you for 10 days, and it's just a regular tour. We do the tour, it's north side of Morocco, south side of Morocco. I guarantee you, probably 60% of everything we visited, it's Jewish related.
Yeah.
So you cannot do a tour in Morocco without the Jewish.
Mm.
It's impossible. If you do
Hmm.
Marrakesh, there's a lot of Jewish places in Marrakesh. If you do Essaouira, the same thing. If you do, for example, Fas, if you do Chefchaouen, and there's a lot of history, especially Fas, I would say is definitely the hub because of the Spanish Inquisition back in the 15th century. And
Mm.
so basically, the Christians they said, "Hey, if you can either convert or get out of Spain." So
Mm.
that's when a lot of Muslims from Spain and Jewish people from Spain migrated to the north side of Morocco, especially Fas and especially Chefchaouen and other areas like Tetouan and stuff like that. So when you look at Fas, it's three cities within a city. You have
Mm.
the beginning, which is the old Medina, which is built in the ninth century, and then you have the Spanish era, the migration or the Inquisition era, which is when the Jews came to Fes and to Chefchaouen and stuff like that. Then you have the 20th century, which is the new city in Nouvelle Vie, and it's a modern city. So Fes has the old, the new, and the very
Yeah.
old. So when
And
you
they're all right
talk
next to each other.
they
Yeah.
are. They are
It's
exactly.
neat.
You're absolutely right, Ted. So when you look at, for example, the Jewish quarter in Fas, it's just across the street, maybe 4 meters or 5 meters between the King's Palace and the Jewish quarter
Mm.
when it starts, when it begins, the Jewish quarter. So they have the king's protection at all times. When we visited a synagogue back from the 17th century, and it's amazing. We went to the top of that synagogue, and we can see downhill. You can see the cemetery. The cemetery is still active. It has some of the most important rabbis in the Jewish history are buried there in Fes. And
Mm.
now a lot of people, the Jewish people from all over Morocco, when they pass away, that's where they want to be buried in Fes. It is the biggest cemetery in Morocco when it comes to Jewish people. So
Mm-hmm.
the Jewish history, it's very alive and doing well in Morocco. When you go, for example, to Chefchaouen, the same thing. A lot of people they ask about the colors. What is the white? What
Yeah.
is the light blue color? And that light blue, you can see it in few cities actually. You can see it, but it's very noticeable when you go to Essaouira, and it's a Jewish color. Then the white
Mm.
color, it's a Muslim color. So the painting, for example, when you go to Chefchaouen, it's a mixture of Muslim and Jews. And those people they paint those houses. It depends, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, just to keep it clean. And the government does not get involved in this. And I think this tradition started
Right.
back in, especially in Chefchaouen, back in 1950. Then when you go
Yeah.
to Essaouira, the gentleman in charge is his name is Mr. Azulai, and he's the king's advisor, and he
Mm.
did an outstanding job in Essaouira. He's Jew, and he kept the history, he kept the heritage, the culture of the Jewish people really well. So Essaouira looks very nice, very clean, very neat. And last visit we did Madrasat Dar Salam, which is a house of peace, and it's Moroccan Jews then
Mm.
Muslims. You know,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it's and again when you do, for example, a Sawara visit, it'll take you about an hour and a half. Everything is close to each other. Most of it is just walking distance from each other. But
Yep.
then a lot of it is Jewish history, even though nobody tells you it's Jewish history. It is. So it's you cannot take one out of the other. But then when you look at the two cultures, the Jewish culture and the Berber culture, they're mingled in. They're in twilight.
Mm.
They are mixed. The Berbers now they used to be Jewish, especially when you go to the villages. Everybody used to live together before everybody migrated to Israel back in the 60s, and then
Mm.
if you look in Israel, there's about 2 million Moroccan Jews, and
Oh.
the second biggest population is Canada. There's about 1 million Moroccan Jew in Canada, but then you
Yeah.
go, they're everywhere again in Latin America and Europe and so forth. And those families, they go back nowadays too fast to Meknes. They want to see their old houses. They want to see where
Sure.
their grandfather was buried, where they lived. They left their childhood house and all that stuff. So, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot take one out of the other. for us, it's everyone is Moroccan. So we don't have that label, if you would like, but
Hmm.
it's just it's Moroccan. So it's really
Yeah.
unique. So
Yeah. Well, there's so much to see, and as we've covered in this episode, it's the different cultures that you find, but they all come under Morocco, and you can experience all of that in
exactly.
one trip. You get the Berber Amazigh culture, you get Islamic influence, you get the Jewish influence. There's all kinds of modern influence too,
Yes.
European and otherwise, and it's all there. So yeah, it's this has been good. I really wanted to cover some of these questions because I know you
Thank
guys get a lot of the questions
you. Yeah.
and things I've been curious about too. So yeah, it's good to get some of these details of how these things work and how to go about doing the research. Further questions people then may have for you. So they can certainly reach out and find you guys quite easily. Destinationsmorocco.com, and any inquiries about things to see and how the tours work, and you can go there. Give us some feedback too about the podcast. We always like to hear what else you want to know about, questions, topics, and subjects that we can explore some more on this show. So feel free to reach out to us there as well. We're putting more and more episodes here on YouTube, and of course, it's easy to send comments there. So yeah, we love getting the feedback too about the show, and lots more to come. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Um, Visit Morocco. Book
Definitely,
with
this is the
us.
time to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want you to travel. We want you to experience Morocco. When you talk about the history, Morocco has thousands and thousands of layers of history. It's just beyond incredible. So we want you to come. We want you to visit. We want you to have fun, and we want you to create memories that last a lifetime. So,
Yep.
and thank you for
Awesome.
listening. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
It's been a fun episode.
Thank you so much,
Cheers.
Ted. Thank you. Thank you. You have traveled the world, but Morocco's allure beckons you. Destination Morocco is here to create the perfect once in a lifetime Moroccan journey, tailored exclusively to your desires. Let us craft an itinerary that unlocks the secrets of this mesmerizing land just for you. For a luxurious, bespoke Moroccan adventure of a lifetime, visit destinationsmorocco.com. That's destinations with an S, Morocco.com. And let us turn your dreams into reality. Your amazing Moroccan experience awaits.